lesson, I'm going to walk you through how to create the circle morph project. So you can see that we are here in Photoshop. Photoshop is right down here. Go ahead and open that up. And we are going to create a new project. Click Create New right over here. This window should pop up. And for this project, we are going to have the width be 2000. And we're going to have the height also be 2000. We want to make sure that we are in pixels here. Pixels is checked. Everything else is the same. You're going to have a white background here. You can select these options. We want to select the white background for this project. And then we hit this blue Create button right there. All right, I'm just going to close a few windows here. I'll zoom out, press the Z key, and then click and drag to zoom out so I can see the entire canvas. Notice these little guides show up on the edges here. I'm going to get rid of those by going up to View, and I'm going to clear my guides. Okay, so that is gone. I've got my canvas ready to go. And now I want to set up my timeline. So I want to bring up my timeline panel, click on Window, go down to Timeline, I'm going to click on that. You can see this timeline window pops up down here. And I want to create a video timeline right here. So I'm just going to click this button, and my timeline shows up right down here. If I want to zoom in on this section of my timeline, got this little slider down here. I can zoom in and out. I want my layer to fill up most of my timeline down here, so zoom in about halfway. And now I want to go over to these little lines right over here. I'm going to click on those. I'm going to do a couple of things in here. First thing I want to do, I want to enable my timeline shortcut keys, this button right here. I'm going to click on that. Notice when I click again, there's a check mark there next to that, so I want to keep that like that. I also want to set my timeline frame rate right here. I'm going to click on that, and this window will pop up. The default is 30 frames per second, FPS, 30 frames per second. That is too many for this project. That's too fast. So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to type in 12 frames per second. I want to keep it at 12 frames per second. And then I'll click OK. And that sets my frame rate, how many frames we see per second of animation. The entire animation is going to be 5 seconds long. 12 frames per second, 5 seconds. 5 times 12, that's 60 frames that we'll have to draw. All right, so everything is set there. I also want to go back here, and let's see here. Next thing I want to do is go up to my layers panel, go to my video layers. I'm going to create a new blank video layer right here. So you can see a new layer showed up in my layers panel right there. And you can see that there's a little picture of a piece of film. That tells me that that's a video layer. Now that I have that video layer, I can go back to my panel options over here, and I can enable onion skin right here. Enable onion skin. Now, onion skin allows us to see the previous drawing that we made and then move forward to the next drawing and still see it so that we can use that as a reference. That will make more sense in just a moment. So, what I want to do now is I want to bring in a reference of a circle that I can use for the beginning and end of the project. So I'll go into my Finder here. Let's see, I'm just going to find this circle here. It's in Classes, Digital Media, Assignments. Here's our circle morph. And here is our circle morph.png. So all I have to do is drag that into Photoshop. And now we have this perfect circle right in the middle of our Photoshop document. I hit this check mark up here to set the image. I want my circle morph image, this reference, to be under my video layer here. I'm going to go ahead and name this layer 1. I'm going to change the name, double click, type video layer so that it's clear. I want this circle morph image to be under my video layer, so I'm going to grab it. See this blue line appear, so I'll put it under there. So now that order is video layer, circle, and then my background underneath. I want to make this circle morph image a little bit transparent so that it's not so bold on the canvas. The way I do that is I select the layer I want to work on, go up to this opacity right here, click on it, and I'm going to make it 50% opacity right there. Click away. Notice it becomes kind of grayish. Actually, I can make it even more transparent like that. Maybe something like 16 or 20%. Let's do 20% just to make it a nice clean number. And then I'll go back to my video layer, which is the layer that I actually want to draw on. So for my first drawing, and we can think about this project like it's a flip book, so I'm going to draw a series of images where each image changes just a little bit from the last one. But for the first image, I'm going to go over to my brush. I'm going to select a black line, and I'm just going to do the best I can to trace this circle image that I brought in. Doesn't have to be perfect, just the best you can do, like that, okay? Now that I have that circle drawn, I can actually turn off by clicking this little eyeball. I'll turn off this circle morph layer. I don't need the reference anymore. I want to make sure I stay on the video layer layer. And now I want to go on to basically the next page in my animation, the next page in my flipbook. And because we have in our panel timeline shortcut keys enabled, I can use the left and right arrow keys on my keyboard, and I'll press the right arrow key once, and you can see that my circle goes a little bit gray. That's the onion skin feature. So I'm on the next drawing, the next page in my flipbook. I can still see the last drawing in my flipbook. It's like that page is a little bit transparent. And I will just continue to draw. I'll just try to trace the circle again. The idea is that each time you trace the circle, it changes a little bit more, and it'll slowly start to morph into other objects. I've already got a project that's got a little bit more work done to it, so you can see this happy little guy right here. If I go to the beginning, I've got my circle. I'll press the Z to zoom out just a little bit there. Use my space bar. Click to move my canvas into the middle there. And if I use my right and left arrow keys, I can look at each picture. So you can see each picture changes just a little bit. It's a new drawing in my flipbook. You can see how it slowly morphs into this happy little character here, waving and blinking. And that's as far as I've gotten so far in this project. If I go back to the beginning, I can use this play button here to watch it at 12 frames per second, 12 drawings per second, just like that. Notice that my drawing loops. The way that I make that happen is I go to this little gear right here, click on it, and just make sure loop playback is checked. Okay. I can set how much of this video plays with these little brackets right here. So if I grab this, stretch it out to the end, you'll see that it'll play till the end, but the last pages are all blank for now. So I don't need to see all of that, so I'll stop the video, bring it back here to the last drawing that actually has something on it. And that way when it just loops this little area here that has animation. So that is how we create our circle morph animation. When we get to the last drawing here, we actually want to turn our circle reference back on because the idea is that the drawing will eventually morph back into this circle for this last drawing. That way it plays in a perfect loop over and over again, starting at a circle, morphing into some things, and then changing back into the circle at the end. All right. Once we are done with our project, we're going to export it as a GIF. And to do that, we're going to go up here to our File menu. We're going to go to Export, and we're going to choose Save for Web, parentheses, Legacy right here. Click on that. Wait just a moment. This special window will pop up, which is just for GIFs and other things like that. We want it to loop forever here. I'm going to make sure GIF is selected up here, GIF. And then we're going to hit the Save button right here, which is going to bring up our Finder. Remember, if our Finder looks small like this, we can click this little white arrow here to open up the full Finder. Go to our desktop, and we're going to save it. You can either save it to your name folder in your Finder, or you can save it to your USB goober. So I'll go ahead and plug that in. Like that. And my goober pops up right here on the side. I'll call it Circle Morph, but I also want to add my name to the title of the file. Leave this .gif here, and then I'm going to hit save, and the computer will do its magic. Complete. So now I can go to my Finder here, go to my go to my USB goober, and I can see here is my file right here. Now I made a small mistake. I forgot to turn off my circle reference before exporting, but you can still get the idea. So I can click on this picture, this file here, just click on it once so that it's highlighted blue, and then if I hit the space bar, I can get a preview of my animation. Now all I have to do is go turn that in, and I'm all set. All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next lesson.